Welcome to another episode of Hot Culture. This episode is for Saturday, September 21st, 2013. My name is Monique Jones. I run Moniqueblog.net, a site that focuses on race and culture in television or in entertainment. I don't know why I keep doing that, but um, today I have two co-hosts, my sister Ashley and my other sister Jasmine, who is talking to us through Skype. So y'all can say hello if y'all want.
Hello.
Hello.
Okay, so today we are going to be talking about the podcast that is apparently sweeping the nation, or at least Tumblr anyway. Welcome to Night Vale. And uh, I have to include myself in the whole sweeping the nation part because I have listened to every episode now, and I even have a blog post about it, and I'm working on another one. So
It's, it's taken over your mind, Nikki.
yeah, it has. Uh, and we'll talk about all this other stuff eventually, but so let me just give you a little bit of a rundown of what Welcome to Night Vale is, and I can't really. It's hard to describe what it is. So I'll just say it's an NPR-esque night. It's an NPR-esque uh, podcast, like radio show that I suppose comes on at night in Night Vale, and it's hosted by this guy named Cecil Baldwin, who is really strange. And there's tons of strange stuff going on in Night Vale, a lot of which I can't really talk about because it'll take up too much time. So I guess the one thing that you do need to know is that there is, if you like romantic stuff, there is actual romance in the podcast. So that's something to hang your hat on.
And if you a person on Tumblr was saying, oh, if you like H.P. Lovecraft, listen to this.
That seems like a little bit of a stretch to me. Like, I see where they're going with that, but Lovecraft was way more, like, detailed, I think.
And amazing.
But anyway, so my opinions, well, I guess you kind of already know my opinion. I like Welcome to Night Vale, and I suppose maybe I like quote unquote boring stuff.
Yes,
Um,
that's a fact. Because, I don't mean to interrupt you, but apparently I am. Something you should know about Monique is that she likes reading books that take 12 years to get into and are at least 600 pages long. For example, if you ever tried to read
Michael Crichton.
Michael Crichton, that's a big one. I mean, some of the viewers out there might love Michael Crichton, and I'm not saying there's anything wrong with him. He's probably a terrific writer, for all I know. I've never made it past page 1 of chapter 1 of any of his books, so I guess I don't know enough. But there's just way too much to plod through. Also, she actually read Sherlock Holmes. I can't get through that. Like, she likes that kind of stuff. So she
Well,
was just,
Sherlock Holmes is good.
but
I
you
will
have to
say.
like get in it. Like, maybe I just have too short of an attention span because
I
I'm
don't
a
know.
poet and I just prefer quick things. I don't know.
I like mysteries, so I don't
Hmm.
know.
Anyway, sorry.
yeah, and I like science fiction, so I think the fact that it's science fiction-y, kind of fantasy-esque without being all elfish and stuff, um, is what attracted me to listening to the rest of Welcome to Night Vale. Um, and it's just cool. I like it. I like the clash of NPR-esque news telling with strange science fiction stuff. So that's why I like it. But Ashley and Jasmine don't like it, and so y'all can have the floor to say
Well,
why you don't
let
like
me
it.
just, because I feel like I'm gonna be painted as somebody who's just unnecessarily bashing stuff. Let me just paint the picture for you guys. Okay, so a friend at school forced us to listen to Welcome to Night Vale in his car. And we were all like, well, this is really weird, blah, blah, blah. And he's like, oh, I love it. You have to listen to it. He brought it up in class. And so then I came home, and what do I hear Monique listening to? But Welcome to Night Vale. And it's like everywhere I go, I can't get away from Night Vale. And as a hipster, and I know that's probably a negative term to some people, but I have been living my life as a hipster for a long time before I even knew what the term hipster was. When something is mainstream and everybody loves it, I try to get as far away from it as possible. And then once it's died down, then I get into it. And since there's too much, like, especially when Tumblr gets on something, I run completely the other way because Tumblr destroys things.
And generally, that's what I do too. But
Right.
I didn't find this through Tumblr. I found it through DeviantArt.
But when all these Tumblr
I
people,
found this through Tumblr.
and that's probably why you hate it, because Tumblr is Tumblr.
But yeah, because it was those people that that love Doctor Who and then Sherlock and then Merlin and then every other BBC show on the planet. They were just like, we gotta watch Night Vale, and I was just like, what is Night Vale? But then at the same time though, I hate that the things on Tumblr are just everyone's I hate how on Tumblr it's just whoosh, a whole bunch of people like something and you're just what is this though?
Mm-hmm.
Why? How come I've never heard of it? But everyone else knows about it. I don't know. Maybe I'm just on Tumblr too much.
I think that's true.
There should be a Tumblr rant podcast.
That would just be all you, because I got off my Tumblr as soon as I made it.
So let's see. There are some things that you wouldn't think that a show like Welcome to Night Vale would start discussion about implicit racial bias and things like that, but it does. It talks about the show itself is an existential type of show. It makes you think even though you don't realize
it's
that
creepy.
You're thinking.
It's super creepy.
But the one thing that has come up, and I wrote about this on my website if you haven't seen the blog post yet, and if you're past a certain point, then you can read it. And I say that because I used fan art that depicts stuff that if you don't want to be spoiled, then you shouldn't read it. But if you don't care, then go ahead. But anyway, so I'll just get into a little bit of it. If you have been on Tumblr, or if you have been on DeviantArt, or anywhere where people post art about Night Vale, then you would probably run into the fandom idea of what Cecil looks like. Now, the big thing that you have to realize is that we never get a description of what Cecil looks like. And we don't really get a description when we get little bits of what Carlos looks like and what some other people look like.
He has perfect hair, perfect teeth.
Right. But
and his name is Carlos.
Right.
That should tell you something. You don't just name little Timmy from, the Midwest Carlos. You name him Timmy. So clearly Carlos has some sort of ethnicity.
Right. And so the whole issue is that, like I said, we don't know what Cecil looks like. He could look like anything or be anybody for that matter. But a lot of people in the fandom have decided that just because I guess they're used to seeing a white person, that he has to be a white male. And a lot of other people, and it seems like it's growing, this bandwagon, a lot of other people are saying, why does he have to be white? Because we don't get any kind of interpretation of him in the actual show. So why does he have to be white? And so there's two factions going on, and I think that the minority looking Cecil faction is winning just because I've seen a lot more of it. Of course,
yeah, I've only seen Indian Cecil. When you
as
told
in
me
Native
that there
American or Indian?
As in actually from India.
Really?
Yeah. There's two kinds of Cecils that are most popular.
Yeah, there's Native American. I finally saw Native American Cecil.
Yeah, and that's
I've only seen Indian Cecil.
Yeah, the Native American Cecil is the one that I have in the blog post.
I had no idea. I'm really proud of the fandom. I really am. Because because fandom, first of all, I also, as a card-carrying hipster, I hate fandoms. And when I say hipster, I mean the original hipsters, the OG hipsters, not these new manufactured hipsters, because they're bandwagon, or they're mainstream. Anyway, because Cecil sounds like just an everyman, his voice doesn't have any kind of accent or anything like that, automatically people are going to be like, oh my gosh, he's white, because white people don't have accents.
And that's one of the arguments that somebody said.
But just because you have a different, just because he might be Indian. He doesn't have to have an Indian accent. He doesn't have to be like directly from India, just walked off of India and came here. Like, he could have been born here. Like, why is that so hard to understand?
Yeah.
Of course he could be another race. In fact, I think it makes it more interesting if he's another race. Adds a layer of color to an otherwise kind of bland intellectual endeavor. So, anyway.
Yes, to everything she said. Like, it's kind of boring in simplistic terms to just think, oh, one race, like this one race can only be this character. Like, the idea that a character isn't really a character or a person isn't really a person unless they're a white person is, well, I mean, it's society's fault going back to slavery.
Probably before that.
Before
actually.
slavery, because we also had the Native Americans.
Well, even in
in
like Europe and stuff. There was
Yeah, I mean, just society
going back to the
in
beginning of
general,
time.
history. But also the media has its fault with all this too, because it carries on the erroneous idea that only the main character or only the hero or the heroine or whoever can be white, whereas the supporting cast, obviously, they can be minority because they are second.
Mm-hmm.
And that kind of thinking has to change, because that's not true. Like, it's taking away the humanity that all of us have, and it's dehumanizing the rest of us.
There was a post on Tumblr,
Right.
that actually talked about like, for some reason, like with anime, for some reason a lot of people think that, or like people are just like, how come they only have white people in anime? And so then the article was saying, actually, since anime is made in Japan, the Japanese see the characters as actual Japanese characters,
Mm-hmm.
unless told otherwise.
Mm-hmm.
So there's just, like, for some reason in America, people are always putting that just because they're pale faced, they are automatically white or something.
Yeah, why would you, like, I don't think I've ever thought in anime, first of all, I've never thought this is a human. I've never thought that. Like, I don't even see it as a human thing, it's just anime. And then, I know it's made in Japan, unless it's made in America.
Right.
And if it's made in Japan, I'm like, okay, these are Japanese characters. Obviously, because they speak Japanese.
Right.
Even if they are in America, like some show, I don't know what show it is, but I recently found out they were supposed to be in America, but they look Japanese. Or even in Phoenix, right? Like, they're supposed to be in America.
Phoenix, right. It's
They're
supposed to be, like,
Japanese.
that's
They're
California.
not in America. Like, I would never say that's a white person. Like, no. It's Japanese. A Japanese thing. Non-human.
Unless they're in Japantown.
Just like
California.
like with Detective Conan, or in America it's called Case Closed. When I first saw it as a kid, I thought it was like Americanized, because I didn't know it was made in Japan. But then when I found out that it was the Japanese cartoon, I was just like, oh, okay, they're Japanese.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't like actually put like, oh, Jimmy Kudo, he's the white guy because he's pale, and dude, what's the other kid's name? The dude with the hat, my favorite character.
Harley.
Yeah, Harley. He's black because he's dark skinned or something.
He's just
But-
Japanese.
Yeah, he's just, I don't know.
Well, and also it's
Right.
a homogenous culture over there. Like, not like here. Like, it's in Japan, it's pretty much just Japanese people. Like, you're not going to walk around and see, like, oh, a different kind of person. It's just a Japanese person. Whereas here, there's a whole bunch of different kinds of Americans, so you would expect that to be represented in the, the art.
And like, I read on some anime website a long time ago, because someone was asking, how come they all have like different color hair and stuff? Like, why do they look white? And the person who was writing about this said that something like, so they can tell the characters apart, like, because people in other countries have different color hair and stuff, and so it's almost like they're trying to like mimic that by giving people different color hair and all that stuff. And I don't know if that's true. It kind of sounds like kind of sounds dumb now I think about it, but uh, that's a theory. And it also probably has something to do with World War II, because World War II kind of uh, decimated Japanese culture, and then they had to rebuild it again. And so they're probably, like, when World War II happened, all the Western culture came over to Japan, and so they're probably dealing with the repercussions of that too, which also comes with the whole thing about white people in general, the idea that white people are people and that ethnicity is wrong.
And just a disclaimer for any of our simple-minded viewers out there, and this is probably insulting, but I'm sorry. If you think that we're saying white people are wrong and that nobody should be white, that's totally not what we're saying.
No.
We're just saying it should be equal opportunity. Like, if you hear a character who has no race identified, you should not immediately say, oh, they must be white. Like, that's not how you should think. If you read a book and you see a character and the description is her skin is olive and her hair is curly, Rue, in the Hunger Games, yes, she should be black. Don't act like she should have been white.
Or freaking
Katniss, who has olive skin and not pale skin. Like, just embrace what we have here. Like, don't assume that everybody has to be one race. There's not one default race. That's not how the world works.
Right. And even with Night Vale, like, if you imagine Cecil to be white just because you think that he is, and you have like no, background of thinking going on, then fine. But if you think he's white simply because you're not thinking outside of the box, or thinking that he could be something else and still be correct, then you need to correct your thinking, because that's not accurate at all. And something I read just the other day, which I was going to put on my website eventually, there's this argument that says that Jay Gatsby from The Great Gatsby is black or high yellow.
Really?
Yeah.
What?
Now that's coming out of left field. What the heck? He's high yellow?
Like,
where's this theory coming from?
Because they said something like the description of him always focuses on his skin tone, and the fact that he's like, they said that he seems to be always surrounded by black people, and so they're saying
where.
That's what they said.
I need to reread this book and see if I can find this.
Like, I read it at least twice a year, just for fun, and I do not remember any.
I haven't read that book, but
I don't think I would say with like 1,000% certainty that he's white, because F. Scott Fitzgerald does not have a history of doing anything like that.
Yeah.
At all. Like, that's just, to me, that seems like injecting way too much, or putting too much onto the book that's not even there. Like, you could make it that way if you cut and paste all the different stuff in a certain way, but
with Fitzgerald's work, since I am reading a huge thick book of his short stories, he will let you know if there's a black person, because he calls them a Negro. It's just like, oh, the Negro person did this. And you're like, okay, that's a black guy. Mm-hmm. But then with like his main characters, he lets you know, oh, her fair skin did this,
Right.
So, and with, I would have to, I don't.
But anyway, like, I threw that out there because it seemed like along the topic we were talking about. But I haven't read the book myself.
He would have made a point of talking about it.
Yeah, he would have made a point to say something like that.
Yeah,
and that's how he writes.
And what's his face? What's the husband's name?
Tom.
Yeah, he would have found out. He would have outed him as black, and there would have been a huge hullabaloo, and Daisy would have been like, "Oh, I'm tainted," and then he would have thrown Daisy away, Tom, and then he would have beat up Gatsby, or he would have just gotten killed anyway. There would have been a huge problem.
That would have been, like, if Gatsby was, like, ethnic of some sort, that would have been the main problem of the whole book.
Exactly.
But it wasn't.
And you see, people, how we're fighting for somebody to be white. So clearly, we're not racist.
But anyway, I guess I'll put that link in there so you can read it if you want. Like I said, I have not read this book, so I was throwing it out to see if they thought that way.
That's fascinating.
But anyway, the point still stands, is that we don't know what Cecil looks like, so you can't just assume that he's one particular race and then be like, but he is that race, I know.
The creators are not going to tell us.
Yeah.
That's the whole point of this whole thing, is
and
to be all mysterious.
Yeah, and they said they weren't going to tell you what he looks like, so he can be anybody, or anything for that matter.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. When I first listened to the podcast, I didn't really imagine him as a person. I actually imagined him as an animal of some sort for some reason.
Interesting.
Yeah, I imagined him because since I saw him with like so many octopus tattoos and his like when people draw him, I imagined him as an octopus.
Yeah, I think someone said that they think that people do that to go back to the whole Lovecraft Cthulhu thing. But somehow that's taken over.
So any octopus
in fandom
can be traced back to the Cthulhu?
I guess so. I don't know.
I hate when people do that. I really hate it.
But any final thoughts?
The voice of Cecil has a beautiful voice.
He does. He has a great voice.
And he does that NPR accent amazingly.
He does. He does, which might be why I don't like it.
I think his name is actually Cecil Baldwin.
Wow. Oh, well, good job.
That's really awkward, actually. That's really weird. But yes, I think you should listen to Welcome to Night Vale. At least listen to the first episode and judge for yourself whether you like it or not. I mean, honestly, after a few months have passed, I'm probably going to listen to it once the hype has died down. Because as I said, I am a hipster. And that's what I'm going to do. So, judge me if you will.
Yep. And I like it. So if you do decide to listen to it, don't listen to it out of order. Because I know some people do that. You have to listen to it
Why
in
would you
order,
do that?
Because
it's a story. Like, what are you doing?
I don't know.
There is an order for, okay. Digress.
But you have to listen to it from the beginning. And everything will make sense. Just like with a TV show. So, basically all my points have been said, so I don't really have anything else to add. Just that I like the podcast and to keep looking towards Moniqueblog to see what I put up about it. So that wraps it up. You can find Moniqueblog at moniqueblog.net, on Twitter at moniqueblognet, Facebook, just look up Moniqueblog, and I think you can find this podcast on Twitter, SoundCloud, Facebook, my website, yada yada yada. Go to the radio page and you'll see all the links to where I am. So hopefully we'll talk to you later, and thanks for tuning in to Hot Culture. And if you have any comments, leave me an email, which is also on my radio page, or leave a comment at the bottom of this blog post. Thanks, and we'll talk to you soon. Bye.
Bye.